Hello, and welcome to episode number 145 of the Lines Podcast. My name is Matt Brown, joined each and every week by Brad Allen and Brett Colson, where we run down all of the games. This week in the NFL, guys, really quickly, let's go ahead and take a brief look back on Thursday night, see if that changed how we think about either one of these teams moving forward. I'll go ahead and say it went well for me. Brett, I know it did because we did a Wednesday podcast, went well for you. It doesn't really change the way I view either one of these teams, to be perfectly honest with you, because I did not consider the Patriots to be a contender at all anyway, a one-dimensional team, can't throw the ball at all, and really the defense is just kind of mediocre. So I didn't consider them a contender really at all. And then for the Rams, I already had them about as high in my power rankings as they could go. So things just kind of went as planned for me. I can't move the Rams up any higher than I kind of already have them. I don't feel it's fair to drop the Patriots any further below to where I had them, because again, I was as bearish on that team as humanly possible. So what did you take from Thursday night, if anything?
I'll say, I mean, yeah, as you said, it didn't really change much. I thought, I still don't see the Rams as a true contender, just because I think if, we saw kind of exactly what the Rams are. Like they're a good enough team without Goff that they could win the Super Bowl, but the quarterback is just not good enough to get them all the way there. And it feels to me like that Super Bowl run a couple of years ago, that's kind of the ceiling again. And, whoever you play, if you do get there, you're still going to get someone who can shut you down with 2 weeks to prepare if they can counteract the McVay scheme. So, a very good team, certainly, all over the place, except at the most important position.
Yeah, Brett, I don't know what you took from it, but I mean, look, they won handily, but 3 throws off the top of my head that were like JV high school level throws by Jared Goff, one of which ended up in an interception, one missed for another first down, one was just a wide open miss that would have been a big gain. It wasn't like it was picked or anything like that, but those are the type of plays you don't see, those type of things from the Mahomeses and the Breezes and any of these guys any of these quarterbacks for these teams that we think legitimately could make a run at this. You don't really see that often.
Yeah. And unfortunately for the Rams, they're locked into a really bad contract with Goff for a long time. So, I mean, they're kind of stuck with him at this point because they might be a quarterback short of being an elite football team. In this specific spot on Thursday, yeah, we talked about this game a bit on the Wednesday podcast. My initial look had me leaning toward the Rams, and then like you said, the line dropped, and I couldn't figure out why. And it didn't end up mattering because the Rams just pulverized New England, and what to me set up as a great fade New England spot. Fresh off that silly win over the Chargers, which I guess moved the line for this game 2 points. It didn't make any sense to me. So this was just a much different spot for the Patriots, because you can't run straight against Aaron Donald, and running straight is what the Patriots do best. You have to balance the offense and throw the football against the Rams, and New England's just terrible when they're forced into that style of offense. And that's why they scored 3 points on Thursday night. So my feelings toward the Patriots didn't really change much. I didn't have a whole lot of faith in this team to begin with, and that's why I was on the Rams.
So let's kick things off here for week 14, the Chiefs and the Dolphins. The Chiefs are 7.5 point favorites in this one at DraftKings, 7-point favorites over at FanDuel. We're looking at about a 50.5 total on this one. Brad, let's start things off with you. Kansas City continues to just be Kansas City, goes out there, and Patrick Mahomes each and every single week just continues to prove that he is probably, barring injury, going to end up as one of the greatest to ever play the game, if not the very greatest to ever play the game. And then you look on the other side and you have this Dolphins team that has, shocked a lot of people, already over their season win total, vying for a playoff spot here. But they find themselves at home as big as a 7 and a hook underdog to the Chiefs. What do you see in this one?
Yeah, I like the Chiefs here if you can get that -7. I think it's just a nice matchup all over the park, really. So we've spoken about the Chiefs before when they're playing A, the Ravens, and then B, the Bucs, where, blitz heavy teams want to blitz and play man behind it. That Mahomes is just the best in the league against the blitz, statistically, because A, he gets the ball out so quick, and then B, his receivers can beat man. Whoever you put on Tyreek is going to beat them, and same for Kelsey. And if you double those two, then the others are good enough to beat you. So I don't think the Dolphins, they're in a bit of a bind because they either blitz like they always do. They play the most cover 0 and cover 1 in the league, and Mahomes beats you that way. Or they change who they are. They play coverage and play some zone and rush 4, but then they don't really have the pass rushes on their own to get there either. So I see the Chiefs just doing what they usually do, scoring their 30 points, and then it comes down to Tua. And again, I think everyone who's listened regularly knows my thoughts on Tua. They're 31st in the NFL in EPA per play with Tua in there. The offensive line is still like 30th in pass block win rate. They're missing their right guard here, and I think that's going to be a problem against Chris Jones on the Chiefs D line. I know Frank Clark has not done a lot there to help him out this year, but there's still going to be a mismatch inside. And yeah, he's a young quarterback who I think will be behind and forced to throw against a good pass defense. So I think it could get nasty. My concern, honestly, is that it's like a 20-point lead for the Chiefs in the third quarter. They pull Tua and Fitz leads them on a couple of late touchdown drives. So maybe first half might be the way to go. Probably like -4.5 or so.
Brett, taking a look here. I mean, I could sit here and heap praises on, Patrick Mahomes all day long, but let's just go to the offense in general. Number 1 overall offense, DVOA. It is the number 1 overall offense, according to Pro Football Focus. It is the number 1 pass offense, DVOA. It is the number 2 offense overall, pass offense overall, according to Pro Football Focus. And I mean, their offense, it doesn't really matter what defense they're matching up against. Like, their offense is going to find success in some way, shape, or form. So it kind of goes to the other side of the ball. What can Miami's offense do against this Chiefs defense? And what we find is it's kind of weakness on weakness as opposed to strength on weakness, because we know that if there is an Achilles heel to this Chiefs team, it would be their rush defense. Well, they're 30th overall DVOA in the league. Pro Football Focus likes them a little bit better at 20th, but still, you can tell bottom of the league when it comes to their rush defense. But then you look at Miami, whose rush offense, 27th according to DVOA, 29th according to Pro Football Focus. If you look at their yards per rush, they're at 32nd in the league. I mean, it is a weakness on weakness as opposed to a strength on weakness, which then at that point, you just go back to Patrick Mahomes and their offense, and they're going to score. So it's kind of hard for me to get to a point where Miami wins this game outright at all. Do you think they can keep it within the 7 and a hook?
I don't. These are the games I love to take the Chiefs in. Kansas City always seems to get the best effort out of all the bad teams they play, but the good teams in the NFL seem to get the best out of the Chiefs. I'm not sure I would classify Miami as a good team yet, but they're definitely headed there. Mm-hmm. It looks like they will be a fringe playoff team come week 17. And surely Mahomes and Reed and company want to send a message here as they fight for that top seed. Like Brad talked about, this sets up really well for Kansas City against a team that blitzes as often as Miami does, and probably needs to blitz as often as they do because they don't generate a lot of organic pressure. Miami leads the NFL in blitz rate, only 10th in pressure rate and sacks. And yeah, we've seen what Mahomes and Andy Reid do to these blitz heavy defenses like Baltimore. So I'm very curious to see what Brian Flores brings at Mahomes on Sunday. Either way, I don't think it's going to be enough to counter what the Chiefs can do offensively. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to see a heavy dose of Clyde early on in this game. Attack the biggest weakness of this Miami defense, get them off balance, and then attack them through the air with the play action. We said it so many times, Kansas City can come at you in so many different ways. And they do seem to bring their best against good teams. I expect that to happen here. I'm heavy on the Chiefs. I have them on my circuit card. I'll have this in my account as well. I think this is going to be a blowout.
Yeah, I like the Chiefs as well. I actually kind of lean towards the under in this as well. I would like to see a 51 before I played it, 50 and a half. Listen, I don't play a ton of quote unquote key numbers and totals these days with the scoring in the NFL. It's kind of hard to figure out, but I do care about 51. So many different ways to make 51. And I do actually care about that number. So should this thing get to 51, it gives me a little bit of push equity. I would play the under in this thing as well. I do like the Chiefs, and if we can get another half point tick on this puppy, I would like to get down on the under. Brett, let's go to the Titans and the Jags. Another one of these, 7.5 point spreads this week. Listen, this is a teaser player's dream week if you are into those. I mean, and I'll admit, I already have a huge round robin of teasers this week, and Chiefs being part of that as well in that game, and this one also being a part of it as well with Tennessee and Jacksonville. Again, 7 points right now is the spread over at DraftKings. We're looking about the same most places right now. There is a 7.5 at FanDuel as well. So there's a hook if you do want the Jags in this thing. Brett, look, I mean, the Titans, we know what it is with this team, right? I mean, they're the NFL's bully. They can get ahead of you. They can bully you with Derrick Henry. Not really built to come from behind. I think we saw some of that come to fruition last week, though they were just beat down early in that one against the Browns. Defense is a problem here for this Titans team, but do the Jags have on offense what it takes to take advantage of the weakness of which is the defense there, specifically the pass defense of this Titans team? How do you see this one playing out?
I think they do have enough offense. I capped this right at 7.5. If you can get Tennessee at -7 early in the week, I guess good job. I think this probably ends up north of 7, and that would be a pass for me. I just don't think Tennessee is good. I mean, they've beaten up on some bad teams this year, but defensively they've gotten worse, it seems, as the season has gone on, and that's why I like the over here. Another Jags. I bet the Jags over every single week because they've proven capable of scoring against really bad defenses, 25 plus in nearly all of these games against poor defenses. And we know this Titans defensive unit is going to give up points. So I like the over 52.5 here. That's my play. No strong lean on the side though.
Brad, I mean, very small sample size since Glennon has taken over, but he has been the most aggressive quarterback in the league. Nobody has thrown more passes over 20 yards downfield than Glennon has. He's just like, whatever, human giraffe coming at you, baby. Let's do this. Let's throw the ball down the field as much as we can. Problem being, Chark has been banged up and hasn't really made a bunch of big plays here. And, they don't have, Chenault is not a burner. Chenault's like a 4-7 guy. Actually, he's a possession receiver and things, 4-6 guy. So I look at this one. I don't mind the take that Brett comes with points being in this deal, because listen, if they are going to be aggressive, there is a weakness in this Titans secondary for sure. So he doesn't even necessarily have to be efficient. If they can get a couple of splash plays and things like that, if he continues to do what he has been doing over the last couple of starts, I don't necessarily think he has to be all that efficient for maybe there to be some points scored in this one. But I also am with Brett. I am probably the most bearish guy on the Tennessee Titans on the face of the planet. So I am a bad guy to handicap this game because I think they're garbage, and it's really tough for me to look at this thing unbiased. What say you?
I'm with Brett on the over, and you as well. So Tannehill now, since he's been with the Titans, this stat's been thrown around quite a lot. That he's 19-3-1 to the over, but it's just not been reflected in the line. If you ask me, like they keep scoring a load of points, they can't stop anyone, and the total's still like just not that high. There's no way the Jaguars are stopping this team. Titans are 3rd in offensive DVOA. Jags are like 31st in defensive DVOA. So they're going up and down the field. But the Titans are also like 28th in defensive DVOA. So Glennon, as you say, he'll come there, he'll throw up some long balls to Chark. Whether he gets picked off or he fumbles or he completes them, then we don't care because it's points either way. So yeah, I have bet the over here, and I would say have made it 54.5 at least. I don't really know why it's down here.
I like it. Yeah. I mean, it seems to me points one way or the other in this one. So I understand. Let's look at the Cardinals and the Giants. This is an interesting spread that might not have been this just a week ago, but here we sit as the Giants as 3-point dogs at home against the Arizona Cardinals. Now, we said here on the podcast, or at least I was preaching it, look, Kyler Murray is not right. I've been trying to say that for the past 3 weeks, and I think that has come to fruition whenever you watch this team play. He is not the same player. He's hesitant to tuck the ball and run it. His accuracy throwing the ball is not as good either. And it has really kind of played out over the last few games for this Arizona Cardinals team. That being said, the Giants, look, they're all right. This defense has certainly come around for this Giants team where, it's a formidable unit. They're not going out there and just giving up a boatload of points every time they step on the field. Offense, to me, still quite suspect with everything. But Brad, they are catching 3 at home, a total of 45.5.
Yeah, I'm not involved with this one just because we don't know what we're getting with Daniel Jones. Obviously, he's coming back from that hamstring. And it sounds like he's probably not going to be sort of at full strength as a runner. And that's been quite a big part of their game recently. So that's keeping me off it, because otherwise I think they're a good matchup here. So just defensively, I think they should have a decent chance at shutting down the Cardinals. A, that they stop the run quite well. And B, they're just going to stick Bradbury on Hopkins, take him out of the game. And then what they were doing last week when they were rushing Russell Wilson, it was like rush 4, but everyone just keep your eye on the quarterback. You're all spies, sort of, rather than just trying to get upfield. Just keep in the pocket and make him pick you apart, and then play cover 2 behind it. So, intermediate, you got to force him to throw sort of 15-yard outs or whatever. And I think it's just the exact same game plan here. Make Kyler Murray stay in the pocket and beat you over the middle of the field and, in that intermediate area. And he's not really shown he can do it because he doesn't really have any weapons beyond Hopkins. And as I say, Bradbury is on Hopkins. So, yeah, I can't really see the Cardinals scoring too many, but there's just enough uncertainty around what we're getting from Daniel Jones that it's a no bet, unfortunately.
Yeah. Brett, I don't have anything on the card for me either in this one, and mainly because I have 2 question marks, not only Daniel Jones, but I'm still questioning Kyler Murray. I mean, what made the Cardinals an offense that was scary early in the season was the fact that he was running for 50 plus yards every single game. He was not hesitant at all to do, as soon as the coverage broke down and he saw a lane, he was gone. He was extending plays. He was picking up first downs to extend drives. And we have not seen that since that Thursday night game where he got hit and nothing, something happened to that shoulder of his. And I understand that he's not showing up on the injury report each week. I think he's just playing through some stuff. I mean, they keep asking Cliff Kingsbury about it, and he keeps saying like, yeah, he's dealing with some stuff, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, they're all but saying he's not right, but they're just not putting it on an actual injury report here. So for me, with both quarterbacks, me having questions as to what both quarterbacks are going to bring to the table, it's very hard for me to have a solid opinion on a game.
Yeah, I'm having the same problems here. He's not on the injury report. If we are to believe that he's healthy again, I think this line should be 3, maybe even 3.5, because this is, like you said, this is a very different team when he is at full strength. The look ahead on this game was 3. It got as high as 3.5 last Sunday morning, and then dropped to 1.5 after the Giants beat Seattle. And now it's back to 3 again with the positive Kyler Murray news. So I don't know what to make of this game, honestly. The stock on the Giants is at an all-time high right now, and whether it's Daniel Jones or Colt McCoy under center, I can't buy them at this price, and I have no idea what to do with the Cardinals right now. So this is also a no bet for me.
Maybe it's an underlook here, chaps. Just from what we're all saying, we've got questions about the quarterbacks and their mobility, and about anyone's chances to move the ball that well. So maybe under 45 is a look.
Yeah, I might dig in that a little bit, just to take a figure. All right, so the Vikings and the Bucs, one of the games I think a lot of people are going to be paying attention to this week. I know I am for a couple of different reasons. One, the Vikings right in the mix in the playoffs. Their offense has been arguably over the last month and a half of the season, one of the better offenses in the league, probably a top 10 offense. Now the defense leaves a little bit to be desired as always, but the offense has been rocking and rolling. The Bucs coming off of a bye, one of the last team to have a bye in the NFL. And maybe, Brett, this was something this team really, really needed. They were having an incredible amount of success early in the season on the defensive side of the ball. We hit about week 9 and it started to slowly erode. About week 8, week 9, week 10, we started to see this defense. I don't know if they were getting worn down. I don't know if other teams were getting enough tape where they were figuring out what they were doing that was giving them so much success early in the season. But something happened where this Bucs defense went from an elite unit to more of kind of like, okay, it's a good defense, but nothing that we're really afraid of at all. Another week for Antonio Brown to maybe get worked into the offense here for this team as well. Scotty Miller was a huge contributor to this team, and then he just gets shunned to the sidelines as soon as Antonio Brown gets active, and then this offense starts sputtering all over the place. So maybe they just needed a little bit of extra time to get him worked in as well. But we are looking at 6.5 right now in favor of the Bucs. 52.5 is your total.
Yeah, it's an interesting game. This line has not moved once on DraftKings this week. Open 6.5, has not budged. And I get it. I think this is a perfect number for this game. 7 feels too high, 6 feels too low to me. So I don't have a whole lot here. Feels like it should be a good spot to buy Minnesota after they nearly lost to a Jacksonville team that has literally nothing to play for except for the number 1 overall pick. But at the same time, they were already overvalued in the market, I felt like. So I don't know what to make of that team right now. And on the other side, this Bucs team coming off the bye. But yeah, unless they fix some of these issues on defense and even offense, I don't view them as an elite team that should be laying 7 against a playoff contender that can score points. So this is a full stay away for me. I'm interested to see what the Bucs look like off the bye, because we have seen flashes of them being, that elite team this year. Haven't seen it lately though. So yeah, that'll be interesting to watch.
Brad, this is an interesting one for me because I have the Bucs in that teaser rotation that I was talking to you about, but I also don't love the 6.5. I think so. It's weird for me that I'm like, I actually think the Bucs win the game. The 6.5 though is a little weird of a number for me. I mean, it's when you take a look at this Bucs defense, I mean, the advanced metrics still love them, but I mean, I think we all have enough. I mean, we've watched enough football. We have eyeballs. We've watched them over the last month and a half of the season. It is certainly not the same defense that we saw in the first half of the season. I mean, DVOA, they still like them. They're 3 overall. They PFF still likes them. They're 6 overall when it comes to that. I mean, so the advanced metrics do love them. Early down success defense is way up there. Early down EPA is way up there as well. So, I mean, there are a lot of different things that say this Bucs defense is still really, really good. I just have watched them get shredded by guys that I'm like, hey, something's not right here. On the offensive side of the ball, that's where I'm more interested in all of this, because that offense had gotten very, very clunky. And whether it was those guys wearing down, I mean, Brady's old. Mike Evans has battled injuries throughout the course of his career. Chris Godwin finally got the pins taken out of his finger that he was playing with. 10 pins in his finger. Like, what in the hell? And this guy's like playing with 10 pins in his finger. So, I mean,
doesn't drop the ball. Drop the ball.
It's like, do they turn this around? Do they figure out, how to utilize Antonio Brown? That's like the biggest question for me with Tampa Bay. I have faith that they will be able to beat this Minnesota defense that really, to me, is pretty overrated. I think this defense has shown time and time again that they can get shredded. 6.5 right now, Brad, and also looking at a total up there at 52.5.
So I think the thing I'm most confident about here is the Bucs scoring some points. I don't think there's going to be any pass rush getting to Tom Brady whatsoever. The Vikings are one of these teams that we talk about where if they're neutral in the trenches, they've got the skill position players that they can beat you. They've got the cornerbacks that they can cover you. But if you block them and keep them out, then you can shred them here. This is a very good offensive line and a very bad pass rush. So Brady's going to be sat back there, and we know the book on him now as well as an older player. Give him time, and he's probably going to shred you like what he did against the Panthers a couple of times. And what was interesting, that last game against the Chiefs, I was watching that one quite closely because I had a bet on. I think it lost. But Romo was saying that they were running a lot more New England plays. rather than the Arians offense, which seems to be just go routes, which is just not that efficient. He was saying there was more New England plays out there, and Brady looked more comfortable running those concepts. So I would hope that's
right.
been a lot of what they've been doing in the last couple of weeks, is just installing more of that. Right, this guy's won 5 Super Bowls running these concepts. Let's just do that again. Can we? So I would hope there'd be some of that. You would think Brady would benefit from the time off as well, being as you say, quite old. So I like them to score a lot of points. When the Vikings have the ball, I've been going backwards and forwards on this one for a while. I don't think they'll be able to run the ball with Dalvin Cook. They love the outside zone, and the Bucs are pretty much the best in the league at stopping the outside zone. So if you A, stop the run, and B, make them play from behind, then you've got Kirk Cousins just dropping back with no play action, and you knowing he's going to pass. And I don't think that's a good situation for Kirk Cousins. Obviously, they've got receiver talent, and looks like the cornerback Jamel Dean might be out, so they might move the ball a bit. But I'm more on the side that Kirk's going to struggle and throw a couple of picks. So I've not bet the game, but I think -6.5 is probably a shade of value. So, or maybe the Bucs team total, and just stay away from the Viking side of it completely.
Yeah, I am. Like I said, this is part of that teaser rotation for me. I've taken the 6.5 down to basically a pick 'em. It's a half point. I just need the Bucs to win. This is like the ultimate cop out thing for me to say, but I feel like this is a field goal game, or the Bucs win by like 17. Like I don't feel like this plays any. I feel like this plays uber close, or the Bucs just go in and run them. And like, so that's why I took it down to the half point, which gives me, all they got to do is basically go out and win this game. And I have a lot of respect for this Vikings offense. I mean, what Justin Jefferson is doing out there is ridiculous. I think he should be probably considered way more heavily for the Rookie of the Year than he has been. But they're kind of they're kind of one dimension. They're a really good offense with a very mediocre defense. And, I think the Bucs have more ways to win the game. That's why I ended up where I did on that one. Texans and the Bears. We have the Texans as 1-point favorites in this one, Brad, a total of 45.5. Of course, the Texans, we know their whole story. Coach gets fired, then they lose Will Fuller due to his suspension. They were only down to 2 actual, rostered wide receivers. Had to call up guys off the practice squad, all kinds of stuff like that. And then we know the story with the Bears. The most inept offense week after week after week after week. They are at least consistent and consistently bad. So at least we know what we're getting in the Bears every single week whenever they step on the football field from an offensive standpoint, and a defense that plays really, really hard. They're just getting no help at all from the offense in general. Again, 45.5. I understand the low total in this one here. What do you think how do you think this one plays out?
I think that low total might be the angle here. I'm not sure it should be 45. So the two worst defensive EPA performances of the Matt Nagy era of the Bears have been in the last 2 weeks. So as in they've had their 2 worst defensive performances of the last 2 weeks. And like last week against the Lions, the Lions had no weapons. They had no Swift. It was Adrian Peterson and like Damian Quintus Cephas beating them downfield. Yeah. So it's concerning, I would say. I don't know if they've quit. Like, they've just gone, we play hard all year. You still don't have a quarterback for like 5 years straight now. So I don't know if there's a little bit of loss of morale, but I thought that was interesting that was happening. Now it's tough to back Houston outright, just because they're missing their best corner, they're missing their best receivers, but they do have the best player on the pitch in Watson on the field. So, yeah, basically, I think the total was this low because of expected weather, but the last update I can see is that it's going to be cold, but just 10-mile-an-hour winds. And if that's the forecast, I think this total is going to go way up. I think that will climb a couple of points because it is just too low for the amount of weapons on the field and kind of just how bad the Houston defense is as well.
Brett, it is a strength on strength and a weakness on weakness game here as well. Houston offense, good. Chicago defense, good. Chicago offense, terrible. Houston defense, terrible. So we have the strength on strength, weakness on weakness game here. I tend to typically lend to the offense that is good in situations like this, but a lot of the stuff that we have seen, of course, came with Will Fuller on the field. He is no longer there. So this is not the same offense that has rallied, that has accumulated all these stats and all these accolades throughout the course of the season so far. So that said, we definitely know we're going to get a bad Bears offense. We at least know that for sure. What can Houston pull out of the hat here? I guess yet to be seen. But again, it's a point and a half as we sit right now.
I'm done with both of these teams. Like the Texans played well last week, except for Deshaun Watson. He had his worst game of the season last week, of course, because I was heavy on the Texans, and they just gave the game away in the fourth quarter with some baffling turnovers, a safety, and maybe some of that was because of the Will Fuller absence. I don't know. I need to see more of what this offense looks like without him, and we've seen it in the past, but they also had DeAndre Hopkins then too. So I need to see more of this offense without Will Fuller. Again, though, there's like everything in my body wants me to pull the trigger on Houston again because they didn't cover last week and they still had Deshaun Watson. But I'm going to sit this one out. This is going to be a lesson in game selection for me. So many games this week, and there are a lot of spots I do like. So I'm just going to keep my distance from the Texans for 1 week, I think.
Yeah, you and me both. This was not the first game I scratched off, but the second game that I scratched off of my list this week. Listen, it is just a lot of unknowns for me. One, will the Texans be able to function without Will Fuller being out there week to week? I mean, last week, I think now teams, at least, the Bears, and the Bears defense has been good all year. I will give them that. The Bears defense has been good all year long. They have a week of tape to see how this offense is going to try to function without Fuller being out there. Kiki Kuti, obviously, being a massive contributor last week for this Texans team. Can't imagine that happening again 2 weeks in a row again against a Bears defense that now has at least a little bit of tape to see what's going on with how this Texans team is going to function. So for me, line seems about right. Total seems in the realm of possibility because, again, I don't know if the Bears can move the ball to score. I don't know. So for me, pass on this thing, and we'll just move on. And we get to the first game I scratched off the list this week, Brett, and let's go to the Cowboys and the Bengals. It is the Cowboys as 3.5 point favorites over the Cincinnati Bengals, 42.5. Yes, you heard me correct. 42.5 is your total in an NFL game in 2020. Brett, I'm sure you have deep, huge analysis of the Cowboys against the Bengals.
Not on the side, but I actually do like the over here. Two teams that throw a lot, operate at a fast pace, and neither can defend through the air. Should be a lot of plays in this game, so more opportunities to score points. This total feels really low to me. This is one of my favorite plays of the week is the over, just because of how these two teams operate.
Brad, bad on bad on bad on bad. Bad Dallas offense, bad Dallas defense, bad Cincinnati offense, bad Cincinnati defense. I mean, I don't even need to sit here and throw out all the advanced metrics. Let's just put it this way. They're almost 25th or worst in every single advanced category on both sides of the ball, both of these teams. So we can just kind of give a blanket statement when it comes to that. Let's put it this way. Even if you don't have a play on this, do you think it's fair for the Cowboys to be a 3 and a hook favorite over anybody in the NFL with the way that this team has been playing? And then what do you think about that low total?
I like that angle, to be honest, because I'm confident the Cowboys can move the ball here. Again, the book on Dalton is if he's protected with these weapons, they're going to put out points. They're absolutely going to put out points, and he should be protected here. I mean, I was surprised by how good the Cowboys pass protection was on Tuesday night.
You and me both, man. I thought it was going to be a nightmare.
Yeah.
He wasn't even sacked until the fourth quarter in that game.
They punted once. Yeah, they were just going up and down the field. And I don't know if that's a Ravens thing, if like the pass rush, because Calais Campbell looked injured or they were goosed, or maybe the Cowboys O-line is better than we thought. Maybe they're working out the chemistry. I don't know. But either way, they should be able to keep out the Bengals here. And then it's CeeDee Lamb, it's Amari Cooper against just a bunch of Bengals no-names. So they should score a lot. And the Cowboys defense, I mean, I could have scored that touchdown that Lamar scored, just run up the middle there. Like the linebacker was just going the wrong way. I don't know what gap he was filling, but it was not even close to where the ball was. So you would think the Bengals would have some success, I think the Cowboys are that poorly coached that they should be able to score 20 or so. And I'm confident the Cowboys can rack up a few points here as well. So yeah, I like that look.
An incredibly low total. Brett, there is actually at MGM, there's a 41.5 on this game at MGM right now. So again, if you like
Cowboys
the over, if you like, it seems that Brad and Brett do, head over to MGM. You are getting a full point, a 41.5 over there on MGM for this one. So be sure and take advantage of the best numbers, as we say each and every week. All right, the Broncos and the Panthers, definitely some curious games this week. We hit 3 in a row here with this Texans, Bears, Cowboys, Bengals, and then now the Broncos and the Panthers. Does not look like Christian McCaffrey is going to be back out there for the Panthers. I'm sure everybody in fantasy football playoffs is beating their head against the wall. They thought they would at least get Christian McCaffrey back for the playoffs. It does not look like that's going to be the case here. The Panthers are 3.5 point favorites in this game. There are 3s out there as well. Seems to be that this thing could be on the move. It looks like there are people who are betting this game all over the place, actually, as we speak, as we sit here. This thing has moved to 2.5 at some places. So you can get the Panthers under a field goal, Brad, if you wanted them.
Do you know what's happening with Curtis Samuel and DJ Moore? Because obviously they're on the COVID list currently, and I cannot find any information as to whether they'll play or whether
I could not either. Yeah, I could not either. But the line is moving in favor of the Panthers, so maybe there's some news on that front or something.
Yeah, so that's worth keeping an eye on. But I want to be on the Panthers here because the Broncos cornerback situation is an absolute mess. So Bryce Callahan, he was the slot corner. He was PFF's second graded cornerback in the entire league. He's out. He's on injured reserve. AJ Bouye just been suspended for 6 games, and then their rookie corner Essang Bassi, who did take over the nickel after Callahan left, he's also out. So if it's just the Robbie Anderson show, then I think bet all touchdown props over props. But if the other two are in there, superb. But I think the Panthers are going to move the ball, especially in the first half. They're one of the good scripts teams. So maybe you probably get -2.5 first half, which I like a lot, because these offenses are like poles apart. Broncos are 31st, 32nd in DVOA, early down success rate, and Panthers are kind of top 12 in a lot of those same metrics. So those combined with the injuries at the cornerback position, I think means we should see some points from the Panthers.
Brett, I already know you're going to be on the Broncos because you're on the Broncos every single week. So, literally no bigger Broncos fan in the history of the world than Brett Colson. At Brett Colson on Twitter. If you have a Buffalo area, if you have a Buffalo bar that gets together for Broncos games or something, just hit him up on Twitter. He'll be there. They are 3.5. They're 3. 2.5 is on the move. So again, the line is moving. They are taking some money. What do you think about this one?
I don't have many thoughts. The note I have here is that it's a no play until we know more about DJ Moore and these Panthers wide receivers, because that is huge, obviously, as Brad laid out. So this is just kind of a wait and see what happens with these COVID designations and kind of go from there.
Yeah, I mean, some of these games is in the weirdest year ever in 2020. Sometimes we literally have to wait till Saturday evening to decide whether we're going to play them or not. And I think this is the perfect example of one of those games, because I mean, it is a completely different look at a team when they have 2 of their 3 best receivers out, and you have Robbie Anderson and it's even different that it's Robbie Anderson that's the one that would be left, because he's probably the least dynamic of all 3 of those, right? I mean, he's not the guy that has the huge route tree. He's not the guy that runs all of the crazy, that can run the different types of underneath stuff and things like that. That's not really what Robbie Anderson does. And so, for me, I'm going to have to see what this team has before I can pull the trigger one way or another. The biggest spread of the week, the only spread of the week, where we had multiple double-digit spreads last week, Brett. We have but one this week. It is the Seahawks and the Jets. The Seahawks are 13.5-point favorites over the Jets, a total of 47. You guys aren't living under a rock, so I don't have to tell you that if you're listening to this podcast that holy crap, definitely we saw a team throw a football game last week. I don't care what anybody says. That was a team throwing a game. There has never been a team ever run that defense in that situation since they have been tracking this statistic dating back to 2006. Literally the only time that has ever happened in the NFL since 2006. So, anyway, 13.5. There is a 14 at MGM as well if you're looking to play the dog, but tough for me to get involved here in this one at 2 touchdowns. What say you guys?
Yeah, I'm gonna be boring again here. All my favorite games are in the late slate. I have no interest in this game. Too many good games on the board in the late slate. Why even try to figure this one out? Like you said, this is by far the biggest spread of the week. I don't see any value in going after this one.
Brad, you got any angle on Jets Seahawks?
I quite like the Jets.
All right.
I took a bit of Jets plus 13.5, and then Mims was ruled out, so I like it a bit less. But I do think the Seahawks offense, we've spoken a lot that they're running the ball a lot more, which is the exact wrong thing to do against the Jets. So I think the Seahawks are stupid enough that they'll continue to do that. But B, there is a little bit of a blueprint on Russ over the last month. They're down at 23rd in EPA per play, which is, play too deep so they can't hit the deep ball because that's all they want to do. And then just rush, in that sort of controlled manner and keep them in the pocket. And they've not yet figured out how to fix it. Now, I don't know if the Jets are well coached enough to sort of implement that plan.
Well, we know they're not well coached, Brad. I mean, we know that for sure. But I understand what you're saying.
But it's a new DC in there, so I do think Greg Williams is a massive negative, and I think whoever you've got in there is got to be an upgrade, and they'll play for him as well, I think, because they don't want to go down in history as an 0-16 team. So we'll be getting their best effort, and I just don't. You can't trust the Seahawks to win by 2 touchdowns. Like, I don't know if they've done it all season. That's just not who they are. Because if they're up, they're going to start running the ball again. That's not going to be that effective for them. Even if they do score early, they just start running the ball. And the Jets have got enough weapons, with Crowder and Perryman on the outside, that I think they can score enough to keep it within 2 touchdowns.
You do get the full 14 over at MGM again, guys. So this is why we always preach, to have multiple accounts so you can take advantage of that stuff. The difference between 13.5 and 14 is pretty big. So 14 over at MGM. All right, Brad. So let's start here with the Colts and the Raiders. So let's get into some of these afternoon games and some of these games that, definitely have meaning for all of these teams. The Raiders on the outside looking in from the playoffs right now. The Colts in the thick of things there in their division. We are having a 50.5 sitting right now on the total. A 3-point favorite is the Colts on the road against this Raiders team. What do you think?
I think that's low. I think Rob Pizzola said it last week about Vegas. Like, this team should never have a total below NFL average, which this is in a dome here, because the defense gets 0 pass rush, then they can't cover on the back end, and then the offense is one of the more efficient in the league, still 13th in offensive pass DVOA, despite being pretty terrible the last couple of weeks. And the Colts defense, obviously early in the year, everyone was sort of raving about it when they stacked up a few wins against an easy schedule, but they've been bottom 8 over the last month. Teams have scored on them. They've played good offenses, like the Packers, like the Titans. But again, I think this is a good offense here. So I think it's just another game where both offenses go up and down the field in perfect conditions. And again, just the nature of the Raiders, they do play slow, but they just give up a lot of points and they score a lot of points. So, sometimes it's as simple as that.
Brett, did over the last 2 weeks we were talking about the death of T.Y. Hilton, and then all of a sudden, last 2 weeks, holy hell, here comes the ghost of T.Y. Hilton rises there in Indianapolis, and we have 2 back-to-back good games here from T.Y. Hilton. Maybe it took Phillip Rivers a little bit longer to, I don't know, maybe figure T.Y. Hilton out, utilize his skill set the best. I don't know, but getting him involved at the right time, I would definitely say that. Jonathan Taylor getting going there, kind of taking over the lead roles as well, which is probably the way that it should be going. Michael Pittman getting worked in a little bit more. So it seems like the Colts offense, which was always what I was very skeptical of with this team, seems to be coming into form a little bit more. The defense has always been all right. I think it was overrated for the majority of the season, but it's definitely one of the top half defenses, if not one of the top third defenses. But like Brad said, I mean, this Raiders team can't stop anybody from going up and down the field here. There are 2.5s out there as well. If you do want the Colts, there are a couple of rogue 2.5s. They're a little bit juiced, but obviously I don't have to tell you, if you have to pay 5 extra cents to get a 2.5, you want that over a 3 all day long if you like the Colts. What do you think on this one, Brett?
Yeah, Matt, you and I loved this Indy offense coming into the season with that offensive line and some of these weapons. And we're starting to see, like you said, T.Y. Come into the picture more, a lot of targets. And if you get T.Y. the ball, he can do a lot after the catch as well. So I do like the way they're working him back into the offense. And Jonathan Taylor, too. I mean, his usage has looked much better, especially last week. If they can continue to find ways to get that kid in space, that's a huge boom to this offense. Yes, he's a running back, but I mean, this is what they drafted him for. He is dynamic. He's huge. He's fast, and he's excellent at catching the ball out of the backfield and doing great things with the ball. So I like how they've started to work him into the offense as well. So I mean, if this is an offense that is going to look more of what we thought it would look like coming into the year, I think it's time to start buying this team. And I like the over angle here with that Vegas angle. It's Rivers should be able to carve up this defense, whether it's to T.Y. Hilton or Jonathan Taylor, Naheem Hines, or tight ends. I mean, I don't see any problem Indy scoring points here. And this Raiders offense is also pretty efficient. So I expect points in this game.
Josh Jacobs did return to practice yesterday. That being said, it was a limited fashion. I think it would work in our favor if he didn't play again, because they love to run him. Like, Gruden still loves to run the ball whenever Jacobs is in there, and he does it at the weirdest and most inopportune times as well, which, would not work for us here in this on an over situation. But it's no guarantee. It's no lock that he's going to play. It's no lock that he's going to get the same amount of touches either, because he is kind of banged up. I like points in this game. I like the Colts at 2.5. If you can get 2.5 in this thing, I like the Colts a lot. It basically comes down to their defense is better than the Raiders defense. They will make more stops in this game than the Raiders will. And that's basically, while I think it could shoot out, and while I think that there will be a lot of points, I also believe this Colts defense has the personnel, has the capability to at least make more stops than the Raiders defense does. It would not surprise me if the Colts don't punt or only punt like one time in this game. That's how bad this Raiders team has been, and that's how much they have fallen off over the course of the season as well. I like what I've seen the last 2 weeks in this Colts offense as well. I honestly think that they started to figure some things out. I think that they figured out how to best utilize all of these different guys, because they have all these different guys that do these different things well. Like Jonathan Taylor is not Naeem Hines. Hines is not, but T.Y. Hilton is not Pittman, and Pittman is not. So I think they figured out how these guys work best in this offense, and it's shown the last couple of weeks as well. So like points, I like the Colts a lot though.
One more thing, if I can, Matt. The first half over might be worth a look as well. We've spoken before about how good the Colts script is, especially in the first quarter. And it's the same with the Raiders. And then the Colts defense has some interesting splits. Don't know if they're real, but they've allowed 100 points in the first half of the last 4 games, and then 13 points in the second half of the last 4 games. So that's 25. Right. It's huge splits. 25 a game in the first half over the last 4 games, and then 3 in the second half per game. So I don't know if they're really good at adjusting or what's going on there, but I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, and getting healthier too, that defense, which is always good. The Packers and the Lions. This is a 7.5 point spread as we sit right now in favor of the Packers. Like I said, this is a teaser players dream week. This is also in the rotation here, Brett, getting the Packers down to 1.5 on the Lions. I don't know if I like them at the full 7.5, but I don't see many paths to victory for this Lions team outright against this Packers unit. I mean, look, it's time for us to just talk. I mean, like if it weren't for Patrick Mahomes, who is sitting at minus 500 right now for MVP, it would be Aaron Rodgers sitting at minus 500 right now at MVP. I mean, he is playing that good. He has been that efficient. He is playing that smart as well. I don't know if there's a more cerebral quarterback playing the game than Aaron Rodgers. He just doesn't put himself in situations to fail. He knows when to throw the ball away. He knows how to throw the ball away. He knows how to avoid sacks. I mean, the guy is just really and truly doing it all right now. 7.5 is your spread, 55 the total. What do you think, Brett?
I like Green Bay a lot. I mean, we saw what Aaron Rodgers did to this secondary the first time around. I don't know why it would be any different this week. I mean, look at this matchup on paper. Green Bay offense DVOA second, Detroit 32nd. PFF offense, Green Bay second, Detroit 32nd. I mean, this is the very best against the very worst and what they do on that side of the ball. And Detroit got its big FU to Matt Patricia out of the way last week. This could very well be an air out of the tires performance from the Lions. In fact, it's because Detroit found that miraculous cover last week that this number isn't 9.5 or 10. I think that's probably where it would be if Detroit didn't win last week. So I have to give a heavy lean to Green Bay here. A very meaningful game, 7.5. I like them at 8. Hell, even 8.5. I would probably bet Green Bay here. This offense is just too good. Yeah. And the Lions, as we know, there's just nothing left for them to play for. And this defense is absolutely atrocious.
No Okudah, no Kenny Golladay yet again. We keep talking about this over and over again, but this offense is just completely different with no Kenny Golladay out there. Like I said, teaser players dream leg for me. This is going to be in every single teaser I play. It will be connected to this one. Brad, do you think the Lions have a shot here?
Not really, no. I mean, that teaser leg, we don't really have access to teasers over here in the UK, but that is perfect. Just to kind of go a little bit further on what Brett was saying, there will be just no pressure on Rodgers. You know, they've got the best pass blocking line in the league, and the Lions come in with a 28th ranked pass rush. So he's going to have all the time in the world back there. And then the Lions are missing a lot of their key corners, as you say, with Okudah, I think Justin Coleman out. So that's going to be a bloodbath. So the question is whether the Lions score enough to push it over, or do I just want to take Green Bay?
Right.
And I think I probably prefer the over 55, or just Green Bay team total if you want to just stick with that. But if you're betting big, I think probably the over 55 is better. What was interesting last week was Stafford's depth of target went up from like 7.5 to 13.8 last week. So that was what they were doing last year when Bevel first came in there. They were throwing deep, and it was a very efficient offense before Stafford got hurt. And it seems like they went back to that a bit. So that would be a good thing, because this Green Bay defense is 20th by DVOA, so they can be scored on. Stafford seems healthier, so I think I probably prefer the over 55 to the Green Bay side, because I do think the Lions, they will be live for that backdoor late. So yeah, over 55 for me.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of that's the only scary thing, which is why I love the teaser leg in this and not the 7.5. Is look, Stafford, we've seen this his whole career. He's played on bad teams basically his whole career. We've seen him go in. He is like the king of somehow ending up with 400 passing yards, like in a game that he just knows how to get garbage time like nobody's business. And that's the only thing that scares me about the 7 and a hook, because God, we have seen that a million times with this dude. Like, you're looking up and you're like, oh, he's got 225 yards passing early in the third quarter. And then like the game's rolling around. He's like, how does this guy get 410 passing yards? It's just like, they just start airing it out every single time. And he is so good at that. But I love this as a teaser leg to get it down to 1.5. And if anything, it would certainly be an overlook or pass for me in this. Because again, I know the Packers are going to score, and I believe that the Lions will score as well in this thing. Brad, a very interesting angle here. The Saints and the Eagles. We have Taysom Hill versus Jalen Hurts. As everybody thought whenever the Saints and the Eagles were going to meet in week 14, we would have Taysom Hill versus Jalen Hurts. It is a 7-point spread in favor of the Saints. Again, like I said, this is a teaser player's dream week this week. All of these right on a touchdown spreads and being able to take those things down through the 7 through the 3 is just amazing. So we know now that they have, at least for a game, moved on from Carson Wentz, leading the league in sacks, leading the league in interceptions, leading the league in fumble. Like every bad category that you could possibly be leading, Carson Wentz was leading. It was a very small sample size, but at least Hurts stepped in and looked like he had confidence in the pocket. At least he was throwing confident balls. He didn't complete a bunch of them, but at least it didn't look like he was sitting back there, deer in the headlights, which is what we see from Wentz so often this year. Do you think fundamentally this changes how you view this team for better or worse? And 2, do you think the 7 is enough for them to cover?
I don't think he can be worse than Wentz, can he? I'm no college expert, but listening to a few smart people this week talk about their concerns with the Oklahoma quarterbacks. Like obviously Kyler and Baker Mayfield both came out of there, and they maybe have not yet lived up to the number one hype that they had, just because of how well schemed that Oklahoma offense was. So I wonder if Hurts is that good at throwing the ball. I'm interested. I think they're going to scheme up a lot of run plays, a lot of inverted veer, a lot of these running quarterback plays and stuff like that. So maybe first half might be an angle there when they throw a load of things at the Saints that they haven't seen. But beyond that, I don't think they're going to be effective through the air. And I think the longer the game goes on, the more and more they're going to tamp down on Hurts here. That said, I still think Taysom Hill is just not good at throwing the ball either. And obviously the strength of the Eagles is their D-line and stopping the run. But then that's all factored into the price. So I don't really have a bet here. Maybe I would go Eagles first half, but I've not bet it personally.
Yeah, Brett, I think the Saints win. I don't see a path to victory for Jalen Hurts making his first start in the NFL against arguably the best defense in the NFL over the last month and a half. If not, if it's behind the Steelers, then it's a little bit behind the Steelers. So it could be a 1A, 1B type situation for this New Orleans team. And we talked about it here on the pod. The biggest problem with the Saints earlier on, they just weren't healthy. They couldn't get all of the players on that defense on the field at the same time. And now that they've finally gotten all these guys out there, they're wreaking havoc on everybody. I mean, they're causing all kinds of hell out there. And it seems like a pretty bad situation for Jalen Hurts to make his first start in the NFL. But then again, there is a Taysom Hill factor. Taysom Hill is going to still have to score points on this Eagles defense that has played pretty well for the majority of the season. So 7 is a big number in the NFL, a small total coming in at 43. What do you think about this?
It is a big number, and I struggle laying 7 points with Taysom Hill, but this does check a lot of boxes for me with the Saints. One, this is a bad matchup for the Eagles defense. All season, this team has feasted on quarterbacks who drop back a lot. It's the only strength of this team is they get pressure on the quarterback. 7th in the NFL, 7th in pass rush win rate, 2nd in sacks, and the Saints don't operate by dropping back with Taysom Hill. Meanwhile, this defense has really struggled against mobile quarterbacks. Daniel Jones, Lamar Jackson. They've also struggled against teams who get the ball out quick to running backs. And Alvin Kamara is as good as it gets in the NFL. So we might see more usage out of him in this game, get him more involved. Second, I'm not sure this team is any better with Jalen Hurts for the reasons you guys already laid out. As bad as Carson Wentz has looked this year, this is still a rookie quarterback making his first start against an elite defense with concepts he's never seen before. So I think the Saints defense is going to cause fits for this kid. He'll be able to use his legs to get out of trouble more than Carson Wentz would be able to, but this is still a massive mismatch in favor of New Orleans on that side of the football. And the Saints have been planning for them all week. So I like the Saints quite a bit here.
Like I said, just a dream teaser players week this week. Getting the Saints down to a point is just so incredibly awesome for me. Look, what we do know is that this Eagles offensive line is complete garbage, and there is going to be a lot of pressure. 30th in pressure rate allowed, 32nd in adjusted sack rate. By the way, there's only 32 teams in the NFL, if you're wondering. So that's dead last. And we know what the Saints team has been doing very, very well here lately. And that defensive side of the ball has really, really amped up. I think they're going to make his life hell back there. It would be the 7. I'd be laying it. Or again, you can take this. All of these teaser legs this week seem so amazing. Getting the Saints down to 1. Pairing that up with the Packers down to 1 as well. Give me that all day long. Love this situation. That one thing I will say, the player props are not out yet, but I would take a look whenever they do come out as to whatever Hurts's rushing yardage is, because I agree with y'all. I think that they're going to try and utilize whatever he brings that Carson Wentz does not. And I think that they're going to try and utilize his legs a lot in this game. So if you see his rushing total in low 30s, mid 30s, I would be on the over on that all day long, I think. Brett, you play some DFS. I play some DFS. I think the baseline for his legs in this game is probably like 40 yards.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would play him this week, but I think Hurts is a pretty good option going forward because of what he can do with his legs. And I think it's worth noting also this offensive line, how bad they look in these metrics. I think a lot of this skewed because of how the indecisiveness of Wentz in the pocket. So I think it's a little unfair to give that label to this Eagles offensive line that they're this bad, because I think they're a little better than the numbers show. But I guess that'd be an advantage to Hurts this week as well.
But as we know, even with that, they are down. They're down Lane Johnson. They're there's some injuries on there as well. So it seems like we all definitely like the Saints in this one to varying degrees. Again, I think that teaser leg is one of my favorites of the week, if not my very favorite of the week. The Washington football team against the 49ers. So let's, Brett, this is a football team here that, 1, right in the mix of the playoffs at this point. 2, has had a pretty good defense all year long. And maybe this defense is playing as good as it's played all year long here when it matters most. Whenever you take a look at all that, of course, coming off of that win over the Steelers, where the Steelers jump out to a 14-0 lead and then only score 3 points the rest of the game, which was we talked about many times, and we'll talk about it with the Steelers a little bit later, how that offense has sputtered. On the offensive side of the ball, Alex Smith, listen, he's brought stability to the position. Now, he's not great. He still makes some pretty bad throws every now and then, but for the most part, he has brought some stability to this team and has made the offense look at least like an offense that you would be worried about, a little bit. So 3-point dogs are the Washington football team on the road at the 49ers. Again, another incredibly low total for 2020, coming in the 43.5 range. What say you?
Yeah, this is kind of a fun one. The line moved. It's now 2.5 points off the look ahead after the teams had very different outcomes on Monday Night Football. I actually think Washington's pretty good. And it's because they built this defense using the same blueprint as the team they're facing this week. They start everything up front. They get pressure on the quarterback. Unfortunately, the Niners don't have the pieces on the defensive line that produced all of that success last season. Kind of a shell of what they were last year. So I do understand why this line moved off the 5.5 look ahead after they got carved up by Josh Allen last week. I don't know how either of these teams score in this game, though. Like, they're both quite bad on offense. Neither team has an advantage on that side of the ball, really, in any matchup. I had a really hard time finding a path to over 43.5 here. We've talked all season about the increase in points scored because of the new advantages to the passing games in 2020, but neither of these teams like to air it out. Washington's passing game is essentially an extension of the running game with the amount of times they just dump it off to the running backs. Alex Smith has the lowest air yards per attempt in the NFL, and he's 7th in completion percentage. So while it looks like he's throwing the ball a lot, that's a bit misleading. They're essentially just running the football a lot. So I expect this game to finish pretty quickly without a lot of points going up on the board. I like the under. It's a scary low total, but I don't know how this goes over a lot here.
Brad, I think that we probably, and I say we, not necessarily us, but just people in general, have not really talked enough about how good this Washington defense is. Number 4 overall DVOA, number 2 overall according to Pro Football Focus. Their pass defense, 3rd overall DVOA, 2nd overall according to Pro Football Focus. Rush defense, 10th according to DVOA, 7th according to Pro Football Focus. They're 3rd overall in sacks. They're 4th in pass rush win rate. They are really good at keeping teams from having early down success. They are 6th overall there, 5th overall early down EPA. 4th yards per pass. It is like they are actually, when we start talking about one of the very, very best defenses in the league, this Washington team fits the bill really across the board against the pass, against the run, their pass rush as well. I mean, every single thing you're looking for here. I guess the question really in this one is, do they have what it takes to keep this 49ers team off the scoreboard? I mean, I think we saw the 49ers last week kind of become who they are, really. I mean, I don't think that they're as bad as we saw last week, but I don't think they're as good as we've seen in the previous weeks either. With all the injuries, all the stuff that's going on, Mullins just limits so much of everything when he's back there. I think the 49ers are kind of who they are is what we saw a little bit more last week. What do you think of this one as 3? There is a 3 and a hook. So if you wanted the Niners, there's a 3 available. If you wanted the football team, there is a 3 and a hook available, which is, of course, y'all know the massiveness of the difference in 3 and 3.5.
Yeah, I would say go bet the 3.5 with the football team here. So I think we're starting to see the limitations of Mullins. I'm convinced that Mullins would not be in the league if he didn't have Kyle Shanahan as his coach, because he can drop back, he can do play action, and he can hit his first read. But if that's not open, he is awful. Like, he will do nothing. And against the Bills last week, I thought that was the ideal matchup because they could run the ball. And that does open up the play action game a bit. But I don't think they're going to have less success here running the ball against this Washington front, as you've said. And then, as you say, the pass defense is very good as well. So I just don't really see, however good Shanny is, I don't think they can overcome just Nick Mullins being terrible against a good defense. And then the football team offense has been good as well. 7th in early down success rate over the last month since Smith has been in there, 11th in EPA per play. Some of that was easy competition against like the Cowboys, but obviously they moved the ball quite nicely last week against the Steelers, who's probably a better defense than this San Fran team. So I don't know that they're the worse team than San Fran, which this line would suggest. So I think there's value in the handicap.
Yeah, I definitely like the 3 and a hook here as well. Listen, the Antonio Gibson injury is concerning to me on offense because he has been so incredibly good for them. And really, once they decided, okay, he's our guy, his offense really took a turn for the better. That said, J.D. McKissick has stepped in pretty well as the pass catching guy, and then they'll just have to, I guess, go Peyton Barber as like kind of like the running back here. That said, even with that, I don't think it materially changes the way that I look at this team or this offense. They still have McLaurin. Of course, everything that they've got going on with Logan Thomas, Jesus Christ, that was a blow-up game for him last week. And just basically getting open at will all over the place was Logan Thomas. And so, if you can get the 3 and a hook, I don't think it's available for me here in Nevada, but it's certainly available for you guys out there in the rest of the United States, because I'm looking at it right now. You can get it at MGM. You can get it over at Sugar House as well. So I would be looking to take the 3 and a hook. I would feel comfortable taking that 3 and a hook on the football team. And honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if they win this game outright. I might even sprinkle a little bit on the money line, to be honest with you. I think they're probably at this stage, they're probably the better team overall. So definitely be looking for that as well. You can get plus 145-ish, 150 on the football team if you want the money line. Falcons and the Chargers. Brad, we have the Chargers coming off of a blasting, getting destroyed 45-0 by the Patriots. And then we have a Falcons team that continues to kind of look, they hang. This is what the Falcons do. They kind of hang. They give you hope that maybe they're going to get there. They don't get there, whatever. This is just what the Falcons kind of do. We are sitting at 2.5 right now as the Falcons favored over the Chargers, 49.5 on our total. And it does not look like we're seeing any threes out there. So it's 2.5 across the board. What do you think of Falcons and Chargers?
I don't think much, to be honest. Like both teams are 29th and 31st in the NFL in early down success rate over the last month. So they're both playing pretty terrible football. It was announced Julio is out about 20 minutes ago. So that's a concern. The Chargers are getting healthier on defense. Looks like Casey Hayward and Chris Harris, the cornerbacks, both practiced. So they probably can shut down Atlanta. But they also might have stopped playing. I think there was a quote from Bosa this week saying, I'm going to be out there like practicing hard, playing hard, but I don't know if anyone else will. So sounds to me like Lynn has lost the dressing room, as it were. So, yeah, I can't trust anyone here.
Brett, I know you actually have an opinion on this game because I am privy to your Circa card. And so you think that this is an overreaction to the blowout? Is that basically what I can only assume is your handicap of this?
Yeah, I'm buying stock in the Chargers. I'm tossing that game out last week. Everything that could have possibly gone wrong for Los Angeles went wrong. And the Bill Belichick success against rookie quarterbacks came through yet again. Herbert looked lost in a game the Chargers gave away early. Just very odd circumstances left the Chargers playing a game they literally could not win after the first half. So now they get a far better matchup against the Falcons. We said last week, the biggest leak on this Chargers team is their run defense, and the Patriots got out to that lead and just did whatever they wanted on the ground in a blowout. The Falcons have no rush offense. This is one of the most one-dimensional offenses in the NFL, even with Todd Gurley back in the lineup, 31st in rush offense DVOA, 32nd in rush offense grade, and now without Julio Jones. So I'm expecting a lot of dropbacks from Matt Ryan again this week, and that plays right into what the Chargers do well on defense, and that's rush the passer with 4 and just sit back and make plays with their defensive backs. This Falcons offensive line also not good at protecting Matt Ryan. Could be without James Carpenter again this week. The other thing in play last week was the coaching mismatch between Lynn and Belichick. You don't get that here. So I'm expecting a big bounce back here for Justin Herbert against a funnel defense that is far better against the run. I capped this game as a pick. So at 2.5, I quite like the Chargers here. And if you can, I mean, I see this as a great bounce back spot for a team that really lost in a weird game last week.
Yeah, I mean, I keep talking about this and there will be people who use this as a teaser leg as well. You can take the tack on the 6 to the 2.5. So now you get the Chargers at 8.5. I don't know if I'll be doing that this week or not. I was actually leaning a little bit more towards points in this one, but now that Julio is out, maybe that changes my opinion a bit on this. And so I'm going to back off of that opinion actually for this game until I can dig in a little bit further because, getting under 50 to me seemed like in a situation with as talented as both teams are on the offensive side of the ball and, as not sharp as both sidelines are as well. Like I just expect there to be, I expect there to be a ton of points, but Julio not being out there certainly fundamentally changes how this offense functions. So I will hold that opinion and dig in a little bit further, but Brett is on the Chargers in this situation. Steelers and the Bills, as always, every time there's a Bills game, we start things off with Brett. Brett, I have been higher on your Bills than you have. And so finally, I think maybe you're coming around. I have been all over this Bills team. I was all over this Bills team this past week. Loved what they brought to that. I could not understand at all why that line was moving so rapidly towards the 49ers. Glad that it did. But this is the thing that we've talked about here between Dabble and and McDermott, listen, they have decided that we're not going to try and do what we're not good at. And look, there are going to be people that point to, okay, well, you can't be one-dimensional and win football games. Well, they're not necessarily one-dimensional. They run just enough to keep you kind of like wondering whether they're going to run the ball or not. But mainly, they've decided we're going to pass the ball. We are built to pass. This is what this offense is all about. If we're going to run the ball, we'll run the ball with Josh Allen sometimes. Sometimes our best play is just calling a Josh Allen run if we're going to run the ball. But I mean, if you look, Buffalo team has been pretty scary here. And against this Steelers defense, they have come in as a 1.5 point favorite. Yes, you are hearing me correct. A 1.5 point favorite over at DraftKings. And man, that is pretty interesting whenever we're talking about a team that was undefeated up until a few days ago. What do you see in this Bills and Steelers game?
I don't really know what to do with this game. This moved a lot of points off the look ahead. It was Steelers -2.5 last week, but that was a bit deceiving because the Steelers were probably overvalued by the market and the Bills were undervalued. So where exactly does that leave us now? My issue with backing Buffalo here is that you're buying a team 1 week after Josh Allen had the game of his life in prime time. And now he's facing the best and most aggressive defense in pro football. And it's still Josh Allen. Like, yeah, he's been much better about throwing the ball away and making better choices this season. But we've also seen at times the Josh Allen that we've come to know as a turnover liability. And then, facing this Steelers pass rush is scary. These two teams played in primetime last year and the Bills won 17-10, but they beat Duck Hodges and Allen was terrible. 13 for 25, right. 139 yards. So I don't know, man. I'm just going to sit back and watch this game. I have no play here, but I know Brad does. So I will let him take it away.
Brad, what do you like in the old Steelers and Bills here?
I love the Bills. I've been anti-Steelers for a while now, and the market hated the Steelers Monday night. Now I think it wasn't it? Opened 8.5, closed 5.5 by the end of that against a good Washington football team, but right. I know a lot of people are looking at that line going, what are we missing here? Why is the undefeated team at home just 5.5 points against kind of an NFC East sort of middle of the pack team? So, I do think the market likes the football team, but I also think they hate the Steelers. And for all year long, it's been, if you can block the Steelers, you can beat the Steelers in the back end. The corners aren't that good. So the Bills are 8th in PFF's offensive line grade. So they should have a decent chance of blocking them, especially with Bud Dupree out. Now, they're also missing the backup middle linebacker, Spillane. It looks like he's missed practice a week. He's probably going to be out. They're going to be missing Joe Hayden, probably their best cornerback as well. So I expect the Bills to come out, spread it out, and just pass, as you say. Josh Allen looked like the best quarterback I've ever seen on Monday night. He was just ice cool. Like you can tell, when a quarterback's just feeling it. He was just very casual, very calm, and he just shredded them. And I don't really know why he wouldn't be able to do the exact same thing here. And then when we switched to the other side of the ball, the Bills' defense is a lot better than it was early in the season when they were missing Trey White, they were missing their second cornerback, they were missing both linebackers in some games, and they're all back now. And remember, a year ago, this was like a top 3 defense. So I don't know if they're back there yet, but I think it can be like a top 12 unit. And then the Steelers, they can't run the ball. They're the 28th PFF offensive line run blocking. They're going like 3.5 yards a carry over the last month now. So it's Big Ben throwing like 5-yard hitches to his receivers. And it just isn't dynamic enough to keep up with what I expect the Bills to do here. So, I mean, honestly, I would make this game 5.5, Bills -5.5. But so I think this is a bargain.
So you'll take the 1.5 then for sure.
Yeah, I will.
All right.
Yes, I would.
So, listen, here's the thing.
I'm getting all the tingles over here, man. You're making the Bills sound like a Super Bowl contender.
Well, Brett,
I think they're the second best team in the AFC.
They might be.
They might. Brett, what did we always say about this Bills defense whenever we would say things like, listen, if you want to run the ball down your throat all day long, you can at least probably do that. That is kind of the Achilles heel here. One, they've tightened that up a bit, and two, the Steelers cannot run the ball at all. I mean, they are horrific at running the football. And so now it becomes, okay, Big Ben sitting back there, no mobility at all anymore. I mean, he is done. Like, I mean, we talk about, is Drew Brees washed? Like, give me Drew Brees. Could you imagine Drew Brees with Juju Smith-Schuster, Claypool, and Deontay Johnson as like his three wide receivers, like what we would think of an offense, like what we would think of that. I mean, like, give me Drew Brees over Big Ben all day long. Big Ben is washed, in my opinion. And this offense goes on these incredibly long lulls throughout the course of a game without scoring the football and without moving the football. Like, they just don't have whatever it is. They don't consistently put an offense that continues to move the ball out on the field. And the Bill, if they go 3-4 drives without putting points on the board, the Bills are going to score. Like, they're going to find themselves, they're going to be down in this game. Like, they are going to find themselves down, and they're going to have to figure something out. Brett, I think we're still a week off from John Brown coming back, though, right? So he's not going to be out there. So that is at least a little bit of a nick on this offense. But I mean, we've seen them roll and function without him out there. Of course, a much better team when he is. But I like the Bills as well. And if the Steelers can prove me wrong that they have an offense that can consistently show up for an entire 60 minutes. Well, then, go out and beat me. That's basically how I'm going to look at this one. But I do. I like the Bills in this thing. And I actually think I kind of like the under as well. I don't think the Steelers score many points, man. I actually kind of think I like maybe the under 48 as well. Ravens and the Browns to close things out here, Brad. We have a 2-point favorite in the Ravens on the road at the Browns. So I don't think any of us are going to say that a team gets better by losing a receiver that's arguably a top 20 receiver in the NFL in Odell Beckham. That being said, Odell Beckham's skill set and Baker Mayfield's skill set don't necessarily align. And so when he goes out, Baker Mayfield's passer rating, according to Pro Football Focus, has gone up 35 points since Odell Beckham has been out. And I think it is because they are utilizing Baker a little bit better to his skill set. It's almost like a little bit like the Jared Goff thing, right? When the Rams are rocking and rolling, Jared Goff is not throwing passes like further than 10 yards down the field, because once you start doing that, things get all kinds of wonky, and then he's just incredibly inaccurate and bad things happen. If you look at what we saw last week as well, outside of the blown coverage where he threw the ball 20 yards downfield to Donovan Peoples-Jones because he was standing all alone out there, Baker Mayfield didn't throw the ball further than 20 yards down the field, like at all. Like, they're keeping him within himself. They're keeping him from doing things that that his skill set, again, is just not really catered to do here. And so I think the Browns offense is in a weird way better that Odell is not out there, because they're not burdening Baker Mayfield with doing things that he's not really good at doing. So anyway, 2.5 favorite are the Ravens on the road at the Browns. Of course, the Ravens get back to business this past week and just run it, a million times for 300 plus yards and do kind of a Ravens win. 47 is your total, Brad. What you think in this one?
I might be tempted by the under. I've not bet this at all yet. I think it might be Stephen Ruiz from for the win who was talking about the Baker Mayfield cycle, where he plays badly against good opposition who pressure him. He comes out in the media, says he disrespected, goes out and proves it, how good he is against terrible opposition, like the Tennessee Titans last week, like the Jacksonville Jaguars. And then he gets really hyped up at how good he is. Then he plays a good opponent again and is back to being really, really average, which I think is exactly who he is. So the question is, who are the Ravens? Because as we talked about earlier, the pass rush was just non-existent against a really banged up Dallas offensive line. And this Cleveland offensive line is ranked 1 in the NFL by PFF for pass blocking. So I think they probably can protect him a little bit here. But then after that, you talked about they'd be more efficient, but the receivers still they've still got to be schemed open. They've still got to now go and win against probably an elite set of corners, and I don't know if they can do that either. So, yeah, I'm not really sure where that comes out in the wash. And then on the other side of the ball, I thought Lamar looked terrible throwing the ball Monday night. I mean,
complete garbage. My God, horrible.
So is that COVID as well? Is he going to be better than that going forward? I can't suddenly see in 6 days he's going to be good at throwing the ball, which is again that's how you attack the Browns. You get them in the back end because they're decent up front. So I don't think they can block Myles Garrett, and I don't think they can throw the ball downfield, and I don't think they're going to have the rushing success that they did against the Cowboys because the Browns are just better coached and the Cowboys are an abomination. So I can see both teams struggling to move the ball, to be honest, and both teams just trying to run the ball because that's possibly the most effective way. Definitely for the Browns, it's going to be the better way to move the ball, and that's how the Ravens play. So I think under 47 is probably my favorite look here.
Brett, I mean, look, I'm not a defensive coordinator, but I can tell you this. If I am the Browns, I am selling out to stop the run. And I'm just saying, hey, Lamar, if you can throw the ball and beat me, good on you. And that's the way I'm approaching this game. Like the Browns are hopeful that Denzel Ward is going to be able to play on Monday. So that is kind of the word coming out of Cleveland, that they are hopeful that he is going to be able to play. And look, man, it was I've not seen a quarterback throw the weirdest looking ball ever. I mean, like Lamar just looked like it looked like a guy that had not played quarterback before. It was unbelievable. Some of these passes that were coming out of his hands. I mean, spiking a sure touchdown right into the ground. I mean, just missing guys like 5 feet over their head. It was horrible. And like you said, Brad, they're not going to have the rushing success that they had last week against this unit. And I would like to think that the coaching staff would make sure that that is the case. Also, Brett, I mean, the Browns are one of the most zone-heavy teams there are in the NFL. Don't run a ton of man defense as it is anyway. We know rushing quarterbacks have more success against man defense because the corners are turning and running with the guys as it is. And so it should be them facing Lamar Jackson a whole lot more and kind of facing this offense and keeping them in front of them. I don't have a play on the Browns yet. This game being on a Monday, we do have an extra day to kind of dig into this one. So I don't have a strong opinion, but I can tell you I do have a lean, at least, towards the Browns in this thing because I am going to go with the assumption of rational coaching, and I actually think that Stefanski is probably pretty sharp. And I would literally dare them to throw the ball and beat me. And if they did, then, good on you. I lost at your massive weakness, but I would not let them run all over me, and I would make Lamar Jackson beat me through the air.
I mean, I feel like that's kind of the game plan they had going into that week 1 matchup. Force Lamar to beat you, and that's exactly what he did. I mean, he was awesome in week 1, but maybe that was a different Lamar Jackson. I mean, that was a different Lamar Jackson than we've seen the rest of the year. This offense has been pretty bad, and I've been fading them regularly for a while now because all of the underlying metrics tell us that this offense is a fraud. But you want to talk frauds? This Cleveland Browns team is peak fraud for me right now. And what's even better is they waxed another fraud team last week, which allows us to get a really good price on the Ravens this week. I love the Baltimore here. I mean, this went, I've had this game circled for 2 weeks, and everything has gone as planned with the Browns thrashing the Titans last week. And now, I can get the Ravens basically at a pick. I mean, they have mismatches in all the right places against this Browns team, whom, like I said, they absolutely obliterated in week 1. So this is the week to sell everything on the Browns. I'm taking advantage of the market overcorrection on this team, and I think this is a poor matchup for them. And Baltimore gets Mark Andrews back this week, so you add another big body to block and also give Lamar Jackson a trusty pass catcher against this very bad Browns pass defense. Browns also might be without Wyatt Teller on Sunday, which is a huge loss. They're banged up a little with Jack Conklin up there as well. So I don't know, man. I think this is a really good spot to sell the Browns, who this has got to be one of the worst 9-3 teams of all time.
I'm going to wait on the injury report though. Like I said, I hadn't played this one yet, so I'm going to wait on the injury report. I mean, Denzel Ward being out there or not is probably going to sway me one way or the other. I mean, if they feel like they have the ability to just man up on the outside and just sell out on the run, then I think that completely changes how I view this game as to how I would otherwise. So a lot of injury news for me to play out still. So not in my account quite yet. Like I said, a lean towards the Browns, but not there quite yet. Guys, as always, we have written breakdowns, all the games over at thelines.com, at playpicks.com. You can find us on YouTube if you're not watching this currently on YouTube, at playpicks.com/YouTube. So go in and subscribe over there as well. Going to have some great NBA content coming up as we roll into NBA season as well. And so be sure and be notified every time that we post a video over there. And of course, we have talked about the varying lines, the varying totals, the varying juice, all of the different things that we found just in this podcast. You'll find it in player props as well. You'll find different numbers. You'll find different juice, all of that. The importance of having multiple accounts where you're allowed to do that is so incredibly important to make sure that you're getting the best odds, the best chance to be a successful bettor. So just go over to the U.S. Sports Betting tab over at the Lines and click on your state, and we will have all of the best offers for any of the books that we trust and work with that you can find on the internet. Free bets, match bets, all the different things like that. So take advantage of that as well, guys. For Brad, for Brett, I'm Matt. Talk to you guys next week.